It's James Steinhubel, TVU on the Business Channel. And I've got Brandi Taylor, founder of Fear It Goes, strategist and transformative coach, helps women struggling with money blocks, limiting beliefs, uncovering what's really happening and why they aren't getting the results they want. She connects her clients to their greatest strengths and assets, catapulting success in business, family, relationships, and love. Brandi knows firsthand, once you have all the right tools and practices in place, the blocks are cleared and nothing stops you from becoming the exception to any rule and to truly live the life of your dreams. A mother of 2 boys, Brandi's a best-selling author, I'm a Brilliant Woman, Volume 3, and writing her latest book, It's All About You, Baby, How to Live Your Authentic Self in an Inauthentic World. From radio talk shows to international stages, her weekly podcast, Fear It Goes, her insights into the human mind are unique. Come along for the journey. There it is, Brandi Taylor.
How did I
do?
Fantastic.
That's great. That's the best intro. I really enjoyed reading that. That was good. Okay, so Brandi Taylor, founder of Fear It Goes, success coach. Here we are. We're right in the middle of it. If you haven't been important and useful ever before, you are now. What's going on?
Oh, what a hilarious comment. Well, it's interesting times with COVID, wouldn't you say?
No.
Very interesting times. I've had some incredible discussions over these last couple of months. I've been following COVID actually since it first came out in Wuhan. So back in like December-ish, it started kind of coming out then. So I've been following it since then. And the reports around it have been very confusing to a lot of people because there's been a lot of misinformation coming out. And I think that's something that's adding to the anxiety. You know, like there's a few comments that have come up. One of my closest friends, she said to me, there are days I just feel like crying. I just feel like crying. I don't know why. It just like comes up and I feel like crying. And I'll get to that in a minute because that actually is a really important point. But my other friend is saying, I don't know how to manage my kids. Like this is a disaster. I'm working from my house and my kids have school and they're crazy and they're doing all these things and they're boys. Right?
Yeah,
and a
boys.
lot. I have boys too, right? And a lot of people are struggling with the instant change. There's no time to prep for this. You're at home. Your kids are at home. You're managing that. Some of you are still working. Some of you are not. How to maintain some sort of routine or schedule that's going to actually be productive and not want where you're not wanting to kill your kids or they're not wanting to kill you or your husband or whatever the case may be. And I call it life under the microscope or family life under the microscope because this is the time when we really exemplify what we are experiencing in each relationship, whether it be business or personal, and how we're managing that, what tools we have in place or what tools we have available to us to be able to manage that is really important. So marriages right now that are struggling, you guys need some tools that are really going to help you through this time. Otherwise, you're not going to make it through this time because this is the time you can't get away from each other. There is no hiding. At least before, you could go to work. You could leave and go see people. You can't do that now. And how long are we here for? Yes. Right? And we're in each other's spaces. So how do we resolve these things?
It's interesting. So how have you been handling COVID with you and your team?
Well, so that's been interesting. I'm going to start with my kids. One thing that we did, so on the podcast on Friday, I actually spoke to a founder of a school. She's amazing. And she had sent out a really great schedule for the kids. And it's funny because literally days before I said, okay, guys, we're going to time block. We're just going to set up a calendar and we're going to time block so that we can manage school and we can do all these things. And my oldest, who is basically a self-learner, says to me, goes, I don't like that. It's too structured. And then we get this email from this school and it says, hey, for your kids' eyes only, here's an idea on how to schedule. And he sees it and he's like, oh my God, I love this. Are you kidding me? It's the same thing. But it's framing what words we're using and how we frame things in any communication makes or breaks how that interprets through each person. right? So my original framing of time blocking was not the way that my son would take in the information in a positive way to get the outcome I wanted, or that would be successful for him. So it was funny because really what made it different between what I said and what she said in her examples, because I just verbalized it. She had a visual and it said video games. First it said like the no matter what's, right? Breakfast, lunch, dinner. School has to go in there somewhere, and then video games or whatever certain things you like to do. So we wrote out a little list of things in a corner and we said, okay, so these are things we really want to make sure that we incorporate in every day. One of them, I said, we're having a cooking class 2 times or 3 times a week. You guys got to learn how to cook. So you can bake, you can cook, I don't care, but you're going to learn how to do this. And then we have schoolwork, and they got to punch in video game time here, and they controlled that. Where are we doing this stuff? And for them, having that sense of control made all the world of difference. All the world of difference, and much more cooperative.
Nice.
Right? Simple ways of communicating in manners that really get to the goods of that person, not the way that I think we need to communicate, but the way they need to be communicated to. Make sense?
Totally. That's good.
Yeah. So I thought that was really good. With the team, I told you we had a little mishap last week. And I messed up. I have a very, very solidly booked schedule right now, and I have to really maintain keeping an eye on my calendar. And if I miss something in my calendar, it gets missed. So for some of you, you might be the same as me right now, where you're really, really busy. Or for some of you, you might find that this time is open. What you're doing with your time right now, I'm telling you, this is such an incredible moment in history. There are some incredible positives in a very negative time. I want to talk about a couple things in today's episode. And that will be, I'm going to talk about ways to manage the anxiety. Okay, so that feeling of I feel like crying out of nowhere. I wrote out a really good exercise in my newsletter last week that came to me it just came, and it was so incredible how impactful it was. It was awesome. So I'll share that with you. And but I also want to talk about the great sides of what's happening right now. So if you're at home and you're not working, okay, so you're home, you're teacher, you're the teacher to your kids. And I know that's a rough job because I'm discovering that myself. Yes, take a breath. It's often funny how little we acknowledge or recognize what that means when we say take a breath, because we breathe shallowly every day. That's just normal standard breathing. We don't take these big, deep, beautiful breaths that move through our whole body and lungs and diaphragm. They're not diaphragm breaths. And when we take the diaphragm breath, it literally changes your state of mind. How awesome is that? You can move yourself out of anxiety and fear, which is constantly bombarding us right now through media. And you can put yourself into a logical, creative state of mind that allows you to really be a critical thinker and question some of the stuff that's coming out. Right? And then know that this will pass. All things do. Life moves on. No matter what is happening in life, life always moves on. It may feel stuck right now, but it's not. Use this time wisely. I'm thinking a lot about, over the last little while, about how we're using our time here. You know, I'm stuck in my house. I got my kids. Some days are tougher than others. Right? But how do I want to use this time? I'm not going to have a time like this again where if you're not working and you're not spending your time doing something and you're wondering what to do, think about what you really want to accomplish. Some people are doing their to-do lists. Like, I have all these things I need to do in the house. You know, I've gone through and cleaned stuff out and, I don't know, reorganized stuff. But what do you really want to do? Get really clear on who you are and what you want. What do you want from your life? This is an awesome time to ponder that.
I agree.
And best piece of advice I can give anybody right now is stop watching the news. Know your basics, know what you need to know, and stop watching it perpetually. At one point when this like really hit hard, I was very, very heavy into everything I could dig my teeth into. So I read white papers. I watched videos. Upon videos of different doctors and different hospitals and different things that are happening and political statements and the gong show of media. And that in itself will literally set you back into a fear response, an amygdala. Sorry, I'm having problems enunciating today, it seems. Amygdala response, which means you're not thinking with your frontal cortex. And when you're not thinking with your frontal cortex, you can't get out of this looping, and your body is ready for a fight, flight, and you're not thinking creatively. You're not thinking critically. You literally are not working at full capacity. So if you're watching the news all the time, start feeding your brain with something better, because what you're planting there right now is going to come. Those seeds are going to turn to plants, and they're going to turn to trees. And what do you want in your garden? You want healthy things in your garden. So ponder the things you really want in your life. COVID will pass. It will change. Let me rephrase that. It will not pass. It will change. The way that we live our lives may be changing forever. And being able to be adaptive is crucial at this point. And if we're focused only on negatives, we can't adapt.
There's several things on your, and it's awesome. And you engage reality, you consider emerging possible futures, you deal with even possible pasts, you're quite profound, and you have a great view of reality and meta reality. So what I wanted to ask you about like 4 things that struck me, or 6 things on your website that were very striking. Your online training, your aligned strategy sessions, your podcasts, but the 4 that were there's NLP and hypnotherapy, so I'll set those aside. But the 2 that stood out were the microbiome and the deep awareness.
I'm kind of addicted to that.
So yeah, but I think it provides an interesting context for where you're coming from and how striking and pertinent your wisdom and knowledge is that flows from you. So if you could talk a little bit about that would be helpful.
Okay, so I really believe that we are mind, body, spirit connect, or energy connected. We are energetic beings, whether we want to acknowledge that, call it woo-woo, call it whatever the hell you want, it doesn't matter. We are energetic, you can measure it. So let me give you a little background. I was a pre-med student in university. I was double major in biology and chemistry. I thought I was going to be a trauma surgeon. I left school with 1 year off. I picked out my medical school. I knew people on the admittance board. I had it all figured out. I was in my early 20s and I went, wait a minute, do I really want to do this with the rest of my life? I really want to help people, but this is a one-way path. And so I thought, I'm going to travel for a bit and I'm going to decide then. And I decided not to go back. And then I went into film because it's another way to help people. You can touch so many lives in one moment with that medium. It's incredibly powerful. And then we had kids.
Awesome.
And life changes.
It's good though. It's good.
Children add one of the most beautiful dimensions to our lessons here. Our lessons in this lifetime. They teach you things. I don't know if you would ever gain these same lessons any other way. My children teach me patience. And I say this honestly in the most loving way. They have taught me more than I teach them, I feel, and I teach them a lot. I teach them things that their friends' parents definitely don't teach them. We talk about how the brain works all the time. I'm like, this is how the brain works because I'm fascinated by neuroscience. So, and psychology has been my thing since I was very young. Cognitive behavior, understanding why people do the things they do. It's been life observation for me since I was very, very young. And it was there because it was a survival mechanism. So I'm very in tune with these things. So I teach the kids, if this is happening, this is why, this is how you can change it. And really NLP, when you're talking about NLP, it's reframing. It's an understanding of how the mind works and how to reprogram. And hypnotherapy is another way to reprogram. I'm a firm believer that from the time you're actually minus 6 months or minus at about 6 months in the pregnancy, because you're fully developed at that point, hearing wise, and you understand emotions. Let me rephrase it. You don't understand the emotions, you have them. So in vitro, you experience things all the way through till about age 7. You're in programming. You're wide open programming. You are placing meanings on everything around you in the world. So, and they're rudimentary meanings. So mommy and daddy, they're fighting over money, and they're fighting over money, and they're fighting over money. Money is bad. So now as an adult, I have a problem with money. It's either evil or it's bad. It causes people to fight, so I don't want it. And this is subconscious. This isn't even something that you're aware of. You're just wandering around like this. And then we wonder why we don't have money, or we wonder why, in my case, there was some serious trauma in my childhood. So wonder why you have this perception of what is normal in a relationship. Logically thinking, as an adult, once you're fully developed, for women, it's 23-ish. For men, it's about 25. But when you're fully cognitively developed, logically thinking, you know that that's not right. But your actions will not follow those beliefs, your conscious beliefs, because your subconscious beliefs are your programming. So our beliefs, our programming, is done early. And then after your programming, your original meanings are placed, then you move into this space of your brain is looking for patterns. That's how we're wired. We are always looking for patterns that prove what we know. It's the way the brain protects you, looking for patterns and proof. And this is what I know, this is what I know, this is what I know. This is how I can protect you. It's how I keep you safe. It's how you don't get eaten by that tiger. Right?
That's good.
So there's so for me, when I started down this journey, I mean, for me, it was a lot of personal growth stuff that started it all. But then I went, how can you reprogram? Because now I recognize it's programming. It's simple. It's literally like your software is no longer matching your system. Mm-hmm. You want to achieve this, but your software won't let you. Right? So then I just had to find methods. So I've got lots of modalities that'll take you into change. And that's why the hypnosis, that's why the NLP, that's why I've also studied energy work and how to move. And that's actually another reason why I went into the microbiome. So when I was in finance, because after kids, my ex and I were very heavy into a lot of investment stuff. We were real estate investors, and then we went heavy into day trading and stuff. And then I went into finance. So it just made sense. But when I was in finance, I read this book. And honestly, after this, I went, oh my goodness, I can't unknow this. I can't unknow this. I can't even pretend to unknow this. I would literally be sentencing myself to pain and suffering for the last 20, maybe longer years of my life. I can't do that. So learning about the microbiome was the beginning of an incredible journey that now I work with people who have autoimmunes, because an autoimmune is often a misbalance. Well, actually it is. It's a misbalance in the body. So an unhealthy biome does a lot to what is happening with you. Depression, anxiety. Anxiety right now is a little bit different because we have an external source that is very prevalent here. But typical anxiety, the way we manage stress, and then we have a plethora of inflammatory diseases like IBS, Crohn's, diabetes, and honestly, I could go on and on and on, but even allergies. All of this stuff is related to your gut and what you're feeding it. So once I got into that, I went, oh, wow, the research is dumbfounding. And the research has been here for a long time. It's now at this point that more and more doctors are coming on board with, we can't deny this. Mm-hmm. Your neurotransmitters. Okay, so neurotransmitters are things like your serotonin. It's a neurotransmitter. That's your happy. Mm-hmm. Dopamines. That's a neurotransmitter. GABA is your neurotransmitter that allows you to de-stress, manage stress, instead of just produce all these crazy cortisols because you're in fight or flight. right? It allows your brain to talk to itself in the ways that it needs. These are chemical responses that we have in the body. But when you have an imbalance or an unhealthy biome, you're not getting these neurotransmitters at the levels you need them. Incredible, right? So now we have depression. Now we have constant anxiety or chronic stress. We're not able to manage these things. So there's a lot of ways we can fix ourselves. Our bodies always want to go back into homeostasis. They always want to go back into balance. They do. Always. But our environment, internally and externally, provide lots of challenges depending on what we're feeding it. Right? So that's why I said, stop watching the news unless you absolutely need to. You know what's going on. You know that this COVID is going on around the world. I watched the Johns Hopkins map every day, rather fanatically. And I wouldn't say every day, honestly, every couple hours I was checking it. I'm like, holy cow, the cases in Italy are going bananas. Oh my God, Spain's catching up. Like, it was terrible.
A sporting event.
It became that. Yes, but it's terrible because you're looking at these numbers and you're like, wow, the number of cases are horrible. And the number of deaths in these cases are really bad, especially when you're looking at Italy and Spain. Their ratios are really messed up. New York was the same way. It hit there very, very hard. But then there's a lot of factors that come into play. And are you considering those things? Do you really even want to consider these things? How far down this rabbit hole do you want to go? And how healthy is that rabbit hole?
Which takes it to a deep awareness. So how are you connecting that?
Yes. So again, this is why I said this is one of those moments in history when we have such a great opportunity to do something really amazing for ourselves and those that we influence in this world, right? So do I really want to go down that rabbit hole that's going to give me all this information about all the horrible things that are coming out of COVID? Maybe, if I'm going to figure out a way to prevent it. Am I in that community? Or am I just here learning some things? Because trust me, the amount of information that's out there that's accurate is so mixed up. So have fun weeding through that, because the core principles are there, but there's a lot of noise around those. And there's a lot of misrepresentations of truth. Like, this is not a flu. It is not a cold. And it was said over and over, it's just like a flu. It is not a flu or a cold. And it is not pneumonia. It chokes you out. It smothers you. It doesn't drown you. And a pneumonia has everything to do with liquid. And this attaches to each of your receptors in your lungs. Well, it attaches to your receptors and smothers you out. You have less available oxygen to take in because your receptors are blocked. It is completely different. It is not a flu. So there's lots of stupid stuff out there like that. Oh, it's just a flu. It's not. It may pass through you with similar symptoms. And God, I hope it does. I hope you actually are asymptomatic and never get it. Let me rephrase that. Asymptomatic means you have it, but you never present symptoms, which means I can pass it on to you, but I would never know I had it. And this is the biggest problem we face with COVID, right? And why we're in the squash, because 60 to 75% based on whatever research you're reading, because I've read numerous different research on that, and some say about 60% that they've tested are showing up asymptomatic, and then some say we're finding 75% are asymptomatic that we're testing. Those are great numbers. It says a lot for us in society. It says there's also a big problem with us spreading it.
So I hear you. So coming from a person who stepped out of normal channeling or expectation of moving forward that was structured for you or constructed for you. You stepped out of it. You stepped out of the schedules and the routines and the expected moments that would happen in those channels, and you've done it a few times.
I have.
You've done it in real estate. You've done it in finance. You've done it in the way that you structure your family now. How you're reinterpreting your business now, and how you're working from home. So from that context of a leader, someone who's thrived in a way that people now are required to thrive. What can you share And again, understanding that you know the power of words and the emotion of words is wrapped around it.
Yes.
And the
I
intent
love
of
that you
words.
said that.
Okay? What words can you share with our viewers that will be meaningful and helpful at this time?
Okay. I'm going to tell you words that are disempowering and that could be cut from everybody's vocabulary and would help them immensely. Can't shuts a door in your brain, literally goes, okay, on to the next thing. Can't. I know that. Same thing. Your brain goes, all right, move on to the next thing. You won't even hear what's being said. You actually won't take it in. So, should have, could have, those words contain judgment and different low-grade emotions of resentment or regret, which holds you in a pattern that isn't going to help you. Try is one of those words. You do or don't. Yoda was smart. Right? Yeah. Love Yoda. You do or you don't. You do something and you have an outcome. And that outcome will give you what you want or not. And then you just tweak, you adapt, you pivot. Okay, so my son and I have been baking these cookies. And actually, this is kind of funny. We've been baking these cookies. And they're the French macaroons. They are not the easiest cookie to make. And in Alberta, we live at a higher altitude. I don't know if that's the problem. We've tried this recipe 3 times and still haven't gotten it right. I've never, not ever in my existence of cooking, and I've cooked for a long time and I'm pretty accomplished, never have I ever had a recipe I haven't been able to manage after the second time. Never. And we've done it 3 times and still haven't got it. So now we're on a mission. We're like, I am Edison, 100%. If this takes 10,000 times, then so be it. We're going to get this, right? It's become our little experiment, but it's great because we're teaching a couple things here. One, tenacity and persistence and perseverance, because it's easy to give up. Often, so often, the difference between failure and success is I gave up. I gave up. I was just about there and I just went, I can't do this anymore. Can't more often than not means won't. I got to this point where I just won't do it. Right? Another disempowering word. So you want to empower yourself with words that mean something to you, that charge you up, that get you lit from inside, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to do this. I'm doing this. I will do this. I am. It's funny when I heard those words and they say they're the most powerful words. Oh my God, they are the most powerful words. I am this. I am that. I am anything I want to be. Anything I ever want to be. Usually it's just a few skill sets away. And it's this belief within that limits more than anything else. Any success in business and in life is what's going on in here. And what's going on in here. Your heart-mind connection, your spirit, whatever, your energy, that connection between self and understanding that ego can very often limit us. It's a tool, it's a guidance system within, but we don't use it that way because we don't recognize what it is and how to use it. I call it the untrained puppy. Our minds are like these untrained puppies. They're running around, they're peeing on people, they're biting people, they're doing whatever they want, right? Because they're untrained. Did anyone ever teach you how to get those negative thoughts to alter and stop? And it's not by squashing them. Oh, no. It's not by squashing them. I was taught very early with the first coach I had. He was a mindset coach. And we talked about negative thoughts. And he was like, it's like a gang that's moved into your neighborhood. These negative thoughts, right? And I call it the garden. It's like the garden, and you're planting seeds all the time. And what those seeds turn into is up to you. But the negative thoughts, that gang that comes in, originally my mindset coach was like, they're really horrible. They're going to do all these horrible things. So you got to be as ruthless as they are. I don't believe that anymore. I used to follow his method because that's what they teach you when you learn how to be a coach. They teach you how to squash negative thoughts. It's not the way it goes, though. Negative thoughts are surfacing something for you, and it's usually what's underneath it. It's not the original thought. It's what the meaning is of the thought. It's the same thing with when I'm mad at you, when I'm upset with you. It's not about you. It's about me. It's something that's butting up against something in me. What is it? Why am I mad? When we stop looking, and oh my God, it's so easy to look at everybody else because I don't have to look at myself. Oh, please let me just blame you. Please, please.
I'm going to.
Because I'd like to, and wait a minute, I'm going to, because that's the untrained puppy, right? We don't know. It's about us. That's why I said my book is called It's All About You, Baby, because it is. It's all about you. It's what's underlying, and it's those original meanings, the original programming that you're butting up against, and it's surfacing in many different ways. So when you're at home and your spouse is making you angry because they're annoying you for whatever reason, what is it about that is really, like, what is it that's really misaligned with you? Is it something you need to talk about? Is it a behavior that is absolutely not okay? Or is it something that you're just looking outside yourself to not resolve something within you? And I this is hard work. I'm not going to deny that part. I'm hyper aware. It's taken a lot of years. It's taken a lot of years to train this puppy, but it's pretty well behaved now.
Good. That's good.
But the awareness is really important. And when we start asking the right questions, we get really, really great answers. So you're asking about words. Think this. Words, emotions. Emotions are chemical reactions in the body, and they flood through us, and they have a vibration. The universe is vibrational. We know that. We know it's energy. We know that through quantum entanglement, which I totally love. And I have a favorite physicist if you ever want to know who he is. We know through quantum entanglement, things can happen with atom over here, and atom over here experiences it at the exact same time. Why is that? Because we're all connected. Everything is connected. Science used to believe that we were separate. Now science or physics has gotten to a point now, quantum physics and quantum entanglement, and we will move forward even more advanced, but has gotten to a point now where it recognizes that we are this big fabric, all connected. There is no separation whatsoever. You are me and I am you. Weird thought, right? And if you are me and I am you, and I'm mad at you, you're a mirror of me. What is it that I'm not giving myself and loving myself with in this moment with you? It's the weirdest, most freeing experience when you get here. And I'm telling you, this is a little bit complicated stuff. It's a little bit more advanced. And I teach this stuff, how to get to this point.
No, it's good, though. I appreciate it.
But
powerful words.
I said I really wanted to give you guys some tools for anxiety. So something that happened, two things. One, forgiveness is one of the best gifts you'll give yourself. It's about you. Forgiveness isn't about them. It's about you. And it definitely empowers them, but it empowers you. It's you taking back the power you gave away at some point or that was taken from you. And these are really, really important lessons to learn in life, how to re-empower something that was disempowered. Forgiveness is an incredible tool for this. And when I first learned how, like you'll hear a lot of guided meditations through forgiveness. And I think that's one of the ones that are really helpful when you're first learning because you don't know how to do it. And it's not about saying, I forgive you for making me mad. I forgive you for being mean to me. I forgive you. It's not that. So the first time I discovered this was kind of through guided something else. And it wasn't someone guiding me. It was something else guiding me. But this is a really helpful way to do forgiveness. So originally I learned, you kind of close your eyes. It's like a meditation sort of. And, you breathe these deep breaths. Deep diaphragm breaths work like box breaths. It's a breath of 4 in, your ribs will expand. You can feel it in your belly moves out. That is diaphragm breathing. That is ujjayi breathing, although ujjayi hits the back of your throat. That also is very helpful in this. But you take these nice deep breaths and you center yourself. And then you set the stage and you bring up who you want to forgive. This was a very nice way to do it. And then it kind of expanded from there. So you bring this person up and you see all these things that, you're mad at them for, or they've really done you wrong. Big, big traumas, right? How do you forgive someone who's done some serious, serious stuff to you? Like murder someone in front of you, right? Serious traumas. All of this can be done here. It's in those moments. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a little history. My father was not a very nice person.
Okay.
Not a very nice person. So when I did forgiveness work with him, originally it was like, I forgive you for feeling, I forgive you for the things that you did to the family. I forgive you for those moments that you were so angry that you felt you had to lash out physically. I forgive you for those moments that you screamed and yelled, for those moments that you punched, for those moments that you did these things. I forgive you for all of the craziness that was going through you. That was originally how I was doing it. So still there. Do you see how I'm kind of really focused on the behavior and not anything else? Then it evolved. Because I recognize now the soul inside, the energy that we are, the being that is within us, because we're all connected. He's feeling so disempowered in these moments that he has to take it. Has to take it. He has to take it through force. He has to take it through hitting. He has to take it through yelling. He has to take it through many means that he spent 20 plus years in jail for. So very, very physically angry, low grade, horrible experiences he had to take it through. Why? There's so much suffering on him to be at that point that you have to do this. You can't find another way within you to do this, to find the power. When I was about 14, he was still in jail. He spent, like I said, 20 plus years in jail. He was taken away when I was 6. And it's in the first book that I'm published in. But I wrote to him and I said, look, I've understood since I was 6 why you're there. I'd just like to hear your side of it. And he writes to me about all these times when he was a kid and how his father would beat him to horrible and chase after him with a pickaxe and like just crazy, right? And cycles perpetuate until you break them. And I didn't realize until I was in my 20s, first time ever, that I was a victim. I was a victim the day that my first memory of him was him, my mother trying to leave him. And she's got my sister and I in her arms and she's standing at the door of our farmhouse at the time. And he comes up with a shotgun and he says, it points it at her head and he says, if you leave here with them, I'll kill you. I'll kill you right now. So that's my first memory. So I look back at all of this and I was a victim there at at the age of 3 at that door. And it carried through. That was my original meaning. This is what relationships are. They're not safe. How does that make relationships moving forward healthy? Tell me. Right? But the cool thing about this is you can reprogram. All of this is just the original meaning. You just got to change the meaning placed at the time. And then you move forward and you let it go. It's no longer the same. There's no longer the emotional attachment to that moment because you've changed that meaning. Incredible.
That's deep. That's good.
We have insane power within us to do anything in our life. Anything. It's just a matter of your programming.
That is so good. So good.
So in these moments here, forgiveness. Oh, such an incredible power you have for you and for them. Let them go. Because let me tell you, my father doesn't think about me and what he did. He doesn't. He's done with that. So why am I holding that baggage for him? Why am I holding all those shitty emotions that anchor me in a horrible place? Why do I want to hold that? I don't. Do you?
No.
No. So let it go. And this is how you do it. You let them go for the things that they were lacking in those moments. He lacked his power. He lacked self-love. He sought this through means that were very violent. Right? I feel sad that that's what he felt he needed to do. So I can let this go. There were a lot of things that happened in our house when I was a kid. And it's funny because they say, when there's a lot of trauma, you remember those, but you don't remember the good times. And I have to admit, I don't really remember much of him that wasn't bad or that wasn't much of an experience. But that's it. It's life experiences. It's a piece of a puzzle. It's not the whole thing. So let it go. Go in and forgive them for what they were totally lacking in those moments, because you're more than that. You are more than that. You are 100% whole with everything you could possibly ever dream sitting inside you. And you don't need to hold their baggage. First and foremost, let go. Secondly, anxiety. This is a really cool little tip for anybody who gets, it's called bilateral stimulation. And there are many methods within the EDMR kind of way of treating things. It's rapid eye movement, something or other. I never remember what the acronym means. But this is great. And I wish to God all hospitals use this. Really, really do. If any of you have anxiety or panic attacks, this will take you out of it in 2 minutes instead of whatever you sit in them. Because it's a looping, right? It's a misfiring in the brain, literally, is what's happening in that moment. And you can't get out of the fear. So your body can lead you to rewire. This is why I was saying before, I find many different ways to approach how to fix what's going on, whatever the problem is. There's lots of ways to fix it. It's not one solution. So take something in your hand. Okay, take something in your hand and move it from, I'm sorry, I'm holding this mic. So actually, I'll just use the mic. Ready? Here we go. You're going to take it from right to left. Like this. Center. This. Center. This. Center. This. Center. And what you're doing is you're moving left, right brain so that your brain starts to do this again, and it slows down the rhythm, and it actually will correct your breathing. Because most panic attacks and anxiety attacks include a problem with breathing. So it will correct your breathing. It will actually drop your brain frequencies and put you back into a state that you can actually start to process again. It's an excellent, excellent method. So any of you who are experiencing that, seriously. And last one for anxiety. This is what I sent out last week in my newsletter. I absolutely love this. So I was just sitting there and I had the weirdest feeling overcome. It was like this. I was feeling fine, and then I wasn't. And I'm wondering, James, have you experienced that over this COVID? You're sitting at home and everything feels okay, and then it doesn't, and you just don't know why. Yeah. It's this energy, right? There's this global connected energy that is low vibing. People are freaking out. It's dragging us down. And then there's those who vibrate higher that are pushing hard to fix this because we can. So I sat down and it just kind of like hit me, and I was like, oh, this doesn't even feel like me, because it isn't. It's just the energy around you. Think about when you walk in a room and you're like, oh, this feels so good. I can't wait. I love this. The vibe of this room is awesome. You feel the energy of the room. And then you walk into a room and you're like, oh, I don't think I want to stay. Right? Or you have one of those experiences when you meet someone, same thing. You instantly like them or you instantly don't. Happens. Weird, right? So with this, it's kind of meditative. Again, I'm a very, very, very big believer in meditation because it is a massive key into you, but, and it unlocks a lot of things. But close your eyes, take some nice deep breaths, right? Sit up straight, take some nice deep breaths. And I want you to go on an incredible gratitude rant. Start with someone that you absolutely adore, someone you adore, and start thinking about all the amazing things that you get from them, the gifts they give you. I'm so grateful for the patience I learned from my children. I am so grateful for their laughter and their crazy screams and screeches, because my day wouldn't sound the same without it. I am so grateful for their energy and what they bring to every day, and the insights they give me so that I'm not so serious all the time. I'm so grateful. So you kind of go in this path. And when you're done with the first one, move on to the next one. And the people you love are really easy. I'm telling you, those ones are easy. Then you move into someone you're kind of mad at. And think about all the things. And this is where the challenge is not as hard as you think it will be, because you've already done all these great things. And you can start to see some things in those people that you might be mad at. They did something that pissed you off, right? But you can start to see where I'm really grateful I even had that moment with you. I'm grateful that you were there to teach me something. I may not have figured it out yet, but I will. Thank you for that gift.
So good. So good. Such great, great equipping information. You've been so kind and generous with what you shared. Brandi Taylor, success coach, owner of Fear It Goes. Thank you so much. May we visit again.
Oh, I'd love that. And anytime you'd like to come on my podcast, or any of you out there listening, if you have a good story, okay, I am always looking for a good story, something that is about, I've struggled in this. And this is some of the things that I found through this struggle. Trust me, there's a lot of people out there. You're not the only one. Share it. Come contact me at Fear It Goes. And I would love to do a pre-interview with you and see if you're right for the podcast.
Excellent. How do they get a hold of you?
They could reach me at info@fearitgoes.com, or they can just go to fearitgoes.com, click on the podcast bubble at the top, and then at the bottom it says comments or contact us or any of those things, and you can put a blurb in there, or you can just say, hey, I have an idea for a show, or I'd really like you to talk about this.
Nice.
I'm struggling with this. I don't want to be on the show. I don't want to be a guest, but I'd really like to have an insight on how to deal with this.
Perfect. Brandi Taylor, thank you so kindly.
Thank you so much, James, and have an amazing day.
Thank you. Thank you so kindly.